Dr. Joel Fuhrman is a board-certified physician whose groundbreaking work has been acclaimed as a medical breakthrough for weight loss, disease reversal, and prevention.
The American diet today has 62% of calories from processed foods. How many of you would like a promise that you don't have to have a heart attack when you get older?
He's a New York Times best-selling author and a widely published nutritional researcher.
And I see people putting this into practice every day, transforming their lives. Never forget that your health is your greatest wealth.
Join Dr. Joel Fuhrman now and learn the 3 steps to incredible health.
Welcome. I'm excited to be here and to share with you some before and after success stories. You know, people send me their success stories, they send me their pictures, and they're so excited to share what they've achieved in the health arena, their health successes, with you, with other people. Because they feel that they're proud of what they achieved, but also the main thing is, if any of their benefits could rub off to motivate people or to have a good effect, goodwill for others, and to help them, other people achieve better health, a better life, and maybe save a life or two. It's so rewarding for these people, their patients, their clients, some people I hardly ever met, but they all have such a, as you'll see, you can't help but your heart go out to these people, and people like them, because so many people are struggling with health issues that are so easily solved when you understand modern nutritional science and you put the high nutrient diet style into action in your life. So with that as an intro, let's get started. Let me show you a few pictures. Here's Teresa. She was just a regular person, 100 pounds overweight. And you know how many people in America are 100 pounds overweight? Teresa weighed about 227 pounds, and it's not a healthy weight, and she knew it wasn't healthy. And she tried other diets, you know, all those typical diets that are high protein and, you know, low fat and, you know, all the drinks and everything. And she had a very strong family history of heart disease, strong family history of diabetes, and she was worried. Right after 3 members of her family died in a 10-month period, she, you know, was looking for something that might work for her. And what she said is, when she found out about this program, it sounded right to her intellectually. It appealed to her scientific mind, and it gave her hope because of both those reasons. She knew it made sense, and of course, once you try it, the results speak for themselves. So Teresa, her weight went from 227 to 125. She lost over the 100 pounds. She's back to her perfect weight. Her dress size went from a size 20 to a size 2. Her cholesterol went from 227 to 172. Her LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, went from 148 to 108. And her blood pressure, which was high. It was 140 over 90, at the cusp of high blood pressure. Her blood pressure is now 112 over 68. And of course, her waist, which was over 40 inches, is now, you know, 26 inches. So, you know, she got herself back to normal again. And she's going to stay there for the rest of her life. Because once this knowledge gets in your head, you can't get it out. Once you know the incredible power food has to decide whether you're going to have cancer or have a heart attack later in life or get demented when you get older and lose your quality of life, you can't get rid of it. You know it, you see the effects, and you enjoy being healthy and you enjoy eating healthy food. And Mike, the next person, he reports the same thing. He's down 10 pant sizes, you know, 10 inches off his waist. He weighed 268, and now he weighs 216. So in any case, Mike had chest pain. He had heart disease. He had obstruction, blocked arteries in his heart. He was on blood pressure medications, cholesterol-lowering medications, of course, aspirin. And now, and activities were becoming difficult for him. I guess his option was to think about surgery or angioplasty, knowing that those procedures do not extend lifespan, and the benefits are short-lived. So instead, he chose to do this naturally. He has not on no medication anymore. His blood pressure is now, which was on medication, his blood pressure was 145 over 90. Now off medication, his blood pressure is 115 over 70. So his waist went from a 43 to a 33, dropped 10 inches off his waist. And of course, his cholesterol went from a total cholesterol of 165, which wasn't that high, but he had heart disease then. And now his cholesterol is 126, his total cholesterol, you know, which is obviously a big accomplishment. Now Laura has a great success story too. But she wasn't that heavy. I think she was only about 15 pounds overweight, but she didn't feel well. She was obsessed with food. She was guilty about the way she ate. She knew she was a food addict and couldn't stop eating junk food. And because of that, she had frequent stomach aches. She had allergies all over the place. She was allergic to hay fever, ragweed, cats, grasses, pollen, trees, breathing, running her nose all the time, frequent infections, UTIs, sinusitis, sinus problems, just never felt well. Let me tell you what Laura said. She said to me to say this quote. She said, "There's no longer a temptation to find the healthiest or latest way to lose weight or to eat for health. I've discovered what works to achieve great health, and that settles it for me." So Laura lost the 15 pounds she needed to lose. She's mentally sharper. She feels better. She feels happier. She's no longer obsessed about food, no longer feels guilty about what she eats. She's enjoying her diet more. And you know what? She doesn't have allergies anymore. That's the important thing. She's not allergic to cats, to hay fever. Her nose isn't running. She doesn't have sinus infections. She's not blowing her nose all the time, not coughing all the time. She's well. Most importantly, she got well through excellent nutrition. Adrienne's a person I saw in my office. She weighed 319 pounds, and we clocked her exactly 1 year later after starting the program, because she came back into my office, every 3 months or so. But at that 1 year visit, she came back, and she lost 123 pounds in 1 year. She went from 319 to 196, and I just saw her recently, just a few days ago, and she's down now below 175. So she's actually lost more than 150 pounds already. But Adrienne's interesting because Adrienne said she's been overweight her whole life, even as a child. When she was a little girl in elementary school, they had to make her a special costume for her to be on the cheerleading team because you couldn't buy that. They had to make a custom-made cheerleading outfit. When she was on her school band in high school, they had to custom-make her a special outfit so she could fit into the look the same way because she was so big. And she accepted the fact that she was going to be obese her whole life because she saw that was her natural consequence of her health and her hereditary. She was just about dialing the number, ready to call for her appointment for gastric bypass surgery, when a friend called her and said, "You know what? Why don't you give Dr. Furman a try first?" So the rest is history. She's excited. And with a person that struggled their whole life to be obese and the trauma of living with that, she said that the weight just fell off me almost effortlessly. I'm eating healthy, and the results follow naturally, and I'm not dieting. I'm eating as much food as I want. I'm just enjoying what I'm eating. And you know what? She doesn't find it difficult to prepare the food. She's a busy attorney, and she finds that some of the simple recipes where she prepares a salad dressing on Wednesday, she can use that same salad dressing on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and use another salad dressing recipe, a gourmet dressing on Sunday, and use that same dressing on the next few days, and she'll make a big pot of vegetable bean soup on the weekend, and she has that soup laid out for her in a little container for the whole week. So even with her busy lifestyle, she found no trouble picking up fresh fruit, putting some berries on top of a salad, picking up some frozen vegetables, but adding the soup, and making a delicious dessert. She has no problem fitting this into her busy lifestyle, and as you see, achieved dramatic results. Ronnie Valentine, just an incredible story. Let me read you what Ronnie said. He said, "I would not want anyone to go through what I've had to endure in my life, my struggle, before I learned about Dr. Furman. Don't wait until you have a medical tragedy. Don't let it happen to you. Start your new life today." Ronnie wants to give this message out because he feels very strongly. Because Ronnie had quadruple bypass surgery, right? He had significant heart disease with chest pain, quadruple bypass surgery, and within a few years, 3 years later, he's back with chest pains again. It didn't work. And once you take the vessels out that are normally in your heart, the natural vessels, and you put in the vessels in your leg, back where the heart should be, the heart vessels should be, those vessels don't behave like native vessels do. They're not as resistant to disease, and they build up atherosclerotic plaque at a faster rate than they would have had the original vessels be maintained or retained. The point is that when people have bypass surgery, it often accelerates the progression of the atherosclerosis, and the inevitable consequences down the road, they develop chest pains again. And Ronnie's only lasted for a few years. He's back with chest pains again. Then they tried to put a stent in, put balloons and do stenting, and that didn't work because in less than a month, he's having chest pains again. A lot of people after angioplasty and after balloon angioplasty and stenting, develop what's called restenosis. That means the vessel clogs back up again relatively rapidly, and it fills up with scar tissue. And restenosis is an eye iatrogenic disease. The word eye iatrogenic means doctor-induced or doctor-caused. It's induced by the procedure. So when you put that stent and you balloon the vessel out, the injury of the vessel wall can accelerate progression of disease in that vessel. When you use modern nutritional science, we use this aggressive nutritional intervention. I call it aggressive because it's aggressive or radical by American standards, but it's logical, it's sensible, it's normal. And once people learn about it and do it, it's the way they prefer to eat. So it's really the American diet that's so radical. It's the American diet that's so dangerous. The high nutrient diet based on natural foods is normal, everyday, easy. And when you do it for a while, people realize, wow, this is just the natural way that humans are designed to eat. And you know what? I feel best doing this. So Ronnie, what happened to Ronnie is after he reclogged up again and couldn't walk a block, was house confined, literally ready to die, trying to accept that, he Googled on the internet, found me, and started communicating through the website. I've never met him personally, but I've spoken to him on the phone since then. And he lost 140 pounds that first year. He got well relatively rapidly. And he was very motivated to do so because obviously he was in terrible shape. But in a few months, he's feeling better. His chest pains are gone. You know, by the time a person could get evaluated by a cardiologist with a stress test, get set up for a cardiac catheterization, have their bypass surgery, go to rehab, be able to drive a car again and then get back to work, that's a 3-month time frame. In that same 3-month time frame where people can get their heart disease treated with drugs and surgery and rehabilitate, and when you're hooked up to the heart-lung machine, while the bypass surgery is going on, you're losing some degree of brain cells. You're losing some degree of intelligence because your brain isn't getting perfused by oxygen during that time. These interventions are not without serious risks. Fortunately, Ronnie is in great health now. He reversed his heart disease. He did what bypass surgery and angioplasty couldn't do. He got back to great health again. His blood pressure was 160 over 110 on medication. They couldn't get it down, giving him multiple medications. Now his blood pressure is 115 over 70 on no medication. His waist went from 58 to 34. He weighs less now than he did in high school, he told me. Isn't that amazing? His cholesterol was 228 on medications, on statins, on cholesterol-lowering drugs. Now his total cholesterol is 132 on no medication, and his LDL or bad cholesterol dropped from 148 to 75. That's a 75 LDL with no medication. Nutritional, this degree of excellent nutrition and this degree of high nutrient eating with learning what foods have those best therapeutic effects is powerfully effective at lowering cholesterol, more effective than even medication. But when you lower your cholesterol naturally with food, what do you get in the process? You can see what you get: a lower blood pressure, acceleration of reversal of disease, your weight falls off you, and you have all those anti-inflammatory micronutrients in your tissues to protect against cancer, cardiac arrhythmias, dementia, and all the other things caused by the standard American diet, or SAD. So thank God Ronnie is in great shape, and he's now sharing his story with other people, and hopefully that'll help motivate you that you don't have to be sick either. Now Isabel, she lost 80 pounds, overweight for many, many years, but she's kept it off for the last 4 or 5 years, right? She's tried dieting in the past. She dropped 20 pounds, gained back 30, dropped 10, gained back 30. You know, when you diet, when you use the word diet, you try to cut back on calories. You can't sustain it because you don't feel comfortable eating less calories. The difference here is when you learn about a high nutrient diet, the intake of nutrients, the micronutrient adequacy suppresses your appetite, and you just don't feel like overeating anymore. It takes away your cravings and what I call toxic hunger, the feeling of fatigue and mental confusion or lightheadedness or dizziness or headachy. People feel ill if they don't overeat. They need food as a stimulant to keep themselves going. Once you're eating healthy, you have energy up the kazoo. You feel great all the time. You don't need to overeat to feel well. You naturally feel well. And then you look forward to eating great tasting food. So Isabel, she stopped counting calories. She stopped trying to lose weight. She's staying committed because she enjoys the side effects. The side effects are she's no longer an emotional eater. She lost her cravings. She doesn't have migraine headaches anymore. She feels great all the time. She has clear skin. She has mental clarity. She looks and feels younger. And Isabel told me to tell you that she said, Dr. Furman's scientific research and knowledge made a lot of sense to me. I started to follow his nutritional guidelines right away, and I lost the first 60 pounds in just 8 months. She said, I have more energy now, and now I want to be active. I want to exercise. I can do things I couldn't even think about trying to do before. So she's got a whole new life open to her, and it's going to be that way for the rest of her life. Emily is an artist. And she felt guilty about her food addictions. She didn't feel well, and she was depressed. She couldn't breathe very well. She also had frequent sinus infections, always having breathing difficulties, always infected, running back to the doctor with needing antibiotics for infections. She dropped 100 pounds in 1 year. She's no longer depressed and sick, no more sinus infections. But take a look at her vibrancy. Take a look at her skin tone, how her skin tone, around her eyes, the brightness of her eyes. Look at how much younger she looks. Look at the color of her skin, how that changed, right? She's literally a different person that looks 20 years younger. A couple of years later, she's 20 years younger, and she is younger. She's no longer aging as rapidly, and she saved her life. Emily is taking this. She lives in the Midwest, and she's in her local art museum. She's putting a transformation art exhibit of the human body as art, showing the transformation of her own body in art from where she was 2 years ago to how she's gotten her health back today. And obviously, her medium of art, instead of being oils and acrylics, is now food and the human body, right? Your body is a work of art. Your body is a miraculous, self-healing machine that people, unfortunately, don't take good care of. And they actually destroy by eating American food, which is very harmful to their body. So Emily's sitting there with her paintbrush in her hand, showing that she's now a happy artist, thrilled by the work she does and excited about life, and able to enjoy life to the fullest, spending time with her family, doing physical activities, riding bikes, running in races, going on camping trips, doing all the things she felt bad she couldn't do with her family when she was obese and a food addict. Bill, as you can see, Bill was morbidly obese. He weighed 268 pounds, but he didn't think himself as obese. He just was tired all the time. He had high blood pressure. He was on multiple medications. And he did recognize that food was an addiction. And he knew he was addicted to food. He said he ate all day long, and no food was off limits. And it wasn't until he heard the information that I'm presenting to you today, obviously, that it finally clicked the light in his head. And he said, you know what, this makes too much sense for me not to change my health. So he knew so he didn't do it as primarily thinking he needed to lose weight, even though he weighed 268 pounds. And he lost 100 pounds. Now he weighs from 268 to 168. But he has lower blood pressure and cholesterol. He feels so much better. He eats foods now that makes him feel good, that provide good nutrition. And he loves the way the food tastes. You know, I think that's all about, that says it all. You know, what if there was a way you could have great health, you wouldn't need drugs ever in your life, you could have, not have heart disease, strokes, all these dementias, all these horrible things happen to you. Yet, what if you could enjoy the eating style even more than your old diet? That's called a no-brainer. Wouldn't it be crazy not to do it? Well, you know what, I know it seems difficult and it's hard to grasp that the way you're eating now and the way you're living now, that you'll be happier, healthier, and you'll enjoy the diet more after you do it, because it takes some time to achieve that. But that's the purpose of showing some of these stories. We find 90% of people that make these changes, that get these benefits, find that they enjoy the new way of eating as much or more than their old diet. You're not going to lose pleasure in life. Go for it. And when I say 90% of people, I just did a study published in November 2010 in the medical journal called Nutrition Journal. And we plotted and we tracked and investigated and interviewed 764 people. We're not talking about 10 people. We're talking about 764 people where 90% of them reported that they're enjoying this diet more. The point is that you can enjoy this diet more. That it's not just for a few crazy people who are nutrition fanatics. It's for regular people like you. Let me tell you the quote Bill told me to read. He said, "Now I want to eat foods that fuel and feed my body, that allow me to function at the highest level possible." How did he go from, a person who ate everything and didn't care about food to where he is now? I think the change changed him and changed his whole outlook on life. Let me tell you about Charlotte next. Charlotte weighed 260 pounds. Now she weighs 160. She dropped 130 pounds. That's like two people. Now she's one person. Charlotte was heavy her whole life. Her family, obesity, diabetes, heart disease, run in her family. At age 56, she had a stroke and she was diabetic. And she was wheelchair confined. She had a 95% blockage in her heart, and she had stents put in. And she was on all those numerous medications that all heart patients and diabetics are, obviously. Now, she's no longer diabetic. She made a complete recovery from her stroke. She walks around. She's physically fit. She has no heart problems, no blockages again. Her cholesterol went from 219 to 150 on no medications. She's lost half her size, obviously. She no longer snores at night. She no longer has sleep apnea, right? She's more resistant to colds and flus. She doesn't get sick all the time. And let me read you Charlotte's quote, what she would like to say, okay? Charlotte said, "I still have a healthy appetite, but my relationship with food is not addictive anymore. People may think I lost weight through willpower, but that's not true. If I had any willpower, I wouldn't have become so large and so sick in the first place. But Dr. Furman's program takes time and extra effort, but for me, the results have been well worth it." That's an understatement. But though I think she's making a good point. Because she didn't have willpower. She just did it. But this works, and eventually it takes away your food addictions. It takes away your food cravings. You don't have to have willpower. You just have to do it. Eventually, it'll turn those things around. So think about this and say to yourself, what do I have to do? Well, Dr. Furman wants me to eat a big salad every day. Just do it. Don't focus on what you're not going to eat. Don't focus on what you can't have. Focus on what you're supposed to have. You're supposed to have a serving of green vegetables every day. Make the recipes. Eat the food. Start to develop the taste for it. It'll happen very naturally. You'll see the benefits starting to come off. You'll lose your desire for the junk food. It'll all come together. Just do it. Let me tell you about Dorothy. Dorothy wasn't that overweight, you know. She went from a dress size 12 to a dress size 6. Her cholesterol dropped about 40 points, you know. But she was a chronic dieter since high school with weight gain and weight loss and yo-yoing your weight up and down. Her gallbladder was removed with gallstones from being overweight. But she struggled with food cravings and binging. She was a binge eater. And, you know, binging is pretty, not very good for you. And she knew it wasn't healthy, even though she was not obese. She was driven to overeat and driven to junk foods with strong cravings. And she knew with a family history of heart disease that even though she wasn't that overweight, she knew she would be in store for some serious medical problems like the rest of her family. So she changed. And now she enjoys high-nutrient food. She says that she no longer desires salty foods, no longer desires processed foods and greasy foods. Now, greasy foods, salty foods turn her off, makes her disgusted, where before she couldn't stop eating them. She changed. It happens. It improved the health of her whole family. And her daughter has type 1 diabetes. And her daughter's type 1 diabetes, she no longer requires as much insulin, and she no longer has the highs and lows. It improved the health of everybody in her family. Out of these success stories I'm showing you, when it happens to one person in the family, very often, most often, the whole family improves their health. I have so many families where the wife loses 100 pounds, the husband loses 50 pounds, the children lose weight, their sinus disease, their allergies all go away, they all have a better outlook on life, and I've gotten so many incredibly supportive letters from the children of the parents that were health. Thank you for helping my mother and father. Thank you for Dr. Furman. Thank you for... It's amazing how kids can see right through their parents' problems. And the kids don't want their parents to smoke cigarettes. They know it's bad for them. And they know it's bad for the parent to be overweight. And how proud they get of their parents when their parents fight back and achieve incredible health. And they're anxious to be part of it. And children, you think, because they're young and they're more malleable, it's not so hard for them to change. They understand the concept that what they eat now affects their body later on in life. I remember when my daughter, Cara, because I have 3 daughters and a son, and my daughter, Cara, is now 16. When she was 5 years old, we were going into the gym, a health club where I live, and we put in this kids camp, the kids exercise camp, called Kids Boot Camp. She called it Boo Boo Camp. We came out of there, and she said to me, "Daddy, why don't these parents love their children?" And I said, "Cara, what do you mean they don't love their children?" She said, "They're just eating nothing but junk food. I have grapes, or they have, why are they eating all those foods that will hurt their body?" And I said, "Well, they don't know that what they eat makes their body and creates a future for themselves based on what they ate." And she said, "What? They don't know that what they eat makes their body? How could they be so stupid?" And she's 5 years old. My children always thought that this just was normal and logical. What you put in your body is what makes you. If you put in bad stuff, you get a bad body. You put in good stuff, you get a good body, right? Isn't it logical? So I said to her, "Cara, what if you woke up in the morning And when you went to the bus stop, all the kids were smoking cigarettes, and all the parents on the doorsteps of their house, their homes, waving goodbye, were smoking cigarettes. Because in Thailand, kids and adults smoke, and every kid on the swing set in the schoolyard was smoking a cigarette. And your teachers were all smoking all through school time as they were teaching you. You wouldn't even think anything of it. You would think smoking is just natural. And these people are brainwashed in an illogical, crazy way of thinking because everybody does it, and they just follow what everybody else does. They don't think that what they're doing, they know this, we know that that's junk food that can hurt them, and they don't think about it. And you know what? Because the parents are addicted, and they don't, and the word addict, when you're addicted to something, it takes over part of your brain, and you can't no longer think logically, and you can't think intelligently because your addictive thoughts drive your thinking process. And the person who's addicted to food or addicted to cigarettes or addicted to drugs is always thinking of some crazy thoughts why it's okay to maintain their addiction. They're giving excuses for themselves. So I explained it to her, and she said, I guess so, So, but my kids never. It's just funny how you couldn't figure out why people do what they do. But my point here is when you eat this way, when you live this way, when you feel the benefits, you'll look back at the way you thought you couldn't change, and you'll say, I can't believe it that I thought that was hard to change. I couldn't believe it I thought I had to keep doing that. I can't believe it I lived that way for so long before I learned about this, because this is so logical, so sensible, so simple, so basic. It's not rocket science. It's what we are, what we eat. We eat the best foods, we get the best health. So Dorothy said, let me read her message to you. She said, it has totally changed my life because I've been freed from food jail. Food jail. I never heard that term before. I feel good about myself now that I'm in control of the food that I put into my body. It's very, very succinct, right? She's in control. These people usually feel that they felt that their food addictions were like a prison, and they couldn't help themselves and they couldn't stop. Scott is another perfect example of this. Scott weighed over 500 pounds. Oh my goodness, over 500 pounds. And let me tell you what Scott said. He said now he weighs about 100, I think Scott's about 180 pounds now, or 175 pounds. He's lost over 300 pounds, about 320 pounds. Amazing, isn't it? Did he diet to do that? Not really. He tried diets in the past, and he couldn't lose weight. Let me tell you what Scott says now. He says, Dr. Furman's program is not a diet, and it's not about a goal weight. I'm just doing what's healthy for my body, and the results followed. He's not on a diet. He just decided to get healthy, and he lost weight without dieting. You know what happened to Scott? He thought, after he lost the first 200 pounds, he thought that was great. And he wasn't dieting to lose more. It just happened naturally. But as he lost more weight, he felt better, and he felt like doing exercise. He didn't feel like doing exercise when he weighed 500 pounds. You know, these overweight people always get the message, you're eating too much, and you're not exercising. How can you tell a person who can't even walk up a flight of stairs without getting pain in their knees that they've got to exercise more? How do you tell a person who can hardly walk around their house comfortably they have to exercise more? How can you tell a person so depressed about their life and about where they're heading, with who's not excited about life, who have like hopelessness, to exercise more? That's like, the point is when they start eating right, they start feeling better, feeling less in their body, their aches and pains go away. They feel like exercising. Scott is an avid exerciser now. He loves to exercise. He bike rides. He goes in bike races. So Scott, his body fat percent, believe it or not, went from over 50% body fat. Now his body fat is under 10%. He's an athlete. He turned from weighing over 500 pounds to being a guy who's like physically fit, who loves sports. He didn't love sports when he was overweight. He got his life back. He physically feels great, right? He regained his freedom. All these people keep saying, I got my freedom back. Because they were, their freedom, because they can do what they want with their life. And they really eat as much as they want. They eat, but they just want the right amount, because they're back in touch with the body's instinctual drives that directs them to the amount of food they require, and they get the most pleasure when they eat that much food. They don't get more pleasure from overeating anymore. If they overeat, they get less pleasure, because then you don't enjoy the next meal as much. You want to enjoy dinner. You don't want to overeat at lunch, because then you're not going to be hungry for dinner. And dinner's not going to taste as good. After a while, you get attuned to the body's needs, and you so much enjoy the flavor and the pleasure and the excitement of eating that you would prefer to eat the right amount at breakfast and the right amount at lunch and the right amount at dinner, because you want to be fully excited and have the full taste sensation manifest itself for the next meal. So they actually learn with time of eating right to get back with the body's instinctual signals that directs them to the exact amount of food they require, because that's what they prefer to do the most. It's the most pleasurable to them. And of course, the typical benefits, his blood pressure dropped, and his cholesterol dropped, and his body fat dropped, and his resting heart rate dropped, and all the his cholesterol dropped from 170 to 90, and all the LDL cholesterol went from 170 to 95 or something. So all these things happened. All the things that accompany good health, happen to these people. And every person I'm showing you, there are thousands more just like them with similar stories that have benefited from this information. And it's information that is very it's very rewarding and important for us to share, as you can imagine, because people deserve to know this. Anthony's a great guy. There's a picture of him when he was old self at 360 pounds. He went from 360 to 195, so I guess he lost about 170 pounds. That's pretty good, huh? 170 pounds off. And I met Anthony for the first time at the gym when he came by and introduced himself. He said, "Hey, you're Dr. Furman. I read your book. I lost, 190 pounds. I'm back in great shape again." And his blood pressure went from 140 over 90 on medications, that is, on multiple medications, to 115 over 70 off medications. And his cholesterol, of course, total cholesterol went from 214 to 128. But what happened with Anthony is that at the age of 36, at 360 pounds, he applied for a life insurance policy because he wanted to buy life insurance for his children. Very important. He knew, he was turned down for life insurance. So he knew something was wrong. And he realized that, wow, I can't even get life insurance because I'm 36 years old with high cholesterol, with high blood pressure on medications, and obese. There's something, something going on here that's not going to be good for my future. Even the life insurance company recognizes I'm in trouble, and I have young children at home. So at the age of 36, he put his life in good order. I'm glad he did it when he was young and didn't wait for a medical tragedy to happen and then try to do it. Because, some people could learn about this information, in the back of their mind, they know it's the right thing to do. They know that it's beneficial to them, but they still don't do it. And I've had people in my life call me from the hospital emergency room or ICU and say to me, "Dr. Furman, I'm sorry, but I knew I should have listened to you." And after they had a heart attack or after they had a stroke or some terrible tragedy. And they felt bad, and I felt bad too. I felt bad I couldn't motivate them with the right type of information to have them start the program before something bad happens. One time I was at a lecture. I was giving a lecture up in British Columbia, Canada, to a whole town of people. The whole mayor was there. Everybody in the town was there. The whole town came out. And myself and another researcher, another nutritional researcher, a guy from Toronto, a very famous guy named David Jenkins, who was a nutritional researcher in the Toronto area. And he was discussing the high-nutrient diet style, and he called it a portfolio of superfoods to help people lower cholesterol and get healthy. And he made a statement that even though this is so effective and so beneficial for people, because the whole town was changing their diet, we're trying to motivate the whole town, and Kelowna and Penticton up in Canada, they decided they were going to have the healthiest population in all of Canada. And so we spoke to the hospitals, to all the doctors were on board, and he made the statement in his lecture that even though this information is so effective and so empowering, only about 20% of people that learn it actually do it. And I got up there next and I said, you know what? That idea that 20% do it, that only speaks to the fact that maybe the way we're teaching it is not that effective. Maybe we're not motivating people in the way that's the best way to really give people the information so they can make a better decision to do it. So we can't say that only a certain percent do it or won't do it. I'm suggesting, and I suggested in that lecture, contradicting Dr. Jenkins, that let's get better. Let's motivate people with more information, with the right information, and let's see if we could affect more people. Because it's not a fixed number. But let's at least get every person the opportunity that they don't have to have tragedies happen in their life. And they know that if they have a medical condition, they have the power to reverse it. Take John Pelikowski. He's an important person because John came to me when he was 72 years old with advanced heart disease. He had triple vessel disease. Triple vessel means 3 of the coronary arteries were occluded with atherosclerotic plaque. And he was evaluated by a cardiologist and told that he needed angioplasty. John knew some negative talk about angioplasty and how it's not always the greatest thing to do. So I was his doctor. He came to see me. And I said, John, let's beat the odds here. And I knew this worked, obviously. I said, let's see if we could go back to your cardiologist and show him how much better you got. Maybe he'll, clearly you don't need angioplasty. We could melt the atherosclerosis away with proper diet. Within 3 months, his chest pains were gone. He dropped about 40 pounds. He went back to his cardiologist, and he's lost 60 pounds altogether. I think he was 220 and went to 160. So he weighed about 220 pounds. He was on 3 medications just for blood pressure lowering. Besides the ones for chest pain and cholesterol, he also needed 3 medications to control his blood pressure. And his blood pressure was not well controlled on 3 medications. He still was having high blood pressure readings on 3 medications. So over the first year, his blood pressure gradually came down to normal. And I was able to gradually take away one medication, then another, and then another. By the end of the year, he required no medication, but his blood pressure was still borderline. It was running about 135. His systolic number was running 135 on no medication. And of course, his cardiologist sees him and says to him, "This is amazing. You reversed your heart disease. I've never seen this happen all my years in practice." Well, of course he never saw it happen, because he's not using nutrition in his practice. That speaks something negative about cardiologists. They don't see this happen. This is not a miracle. This is not, something that should be so surprising. This is routine. It happens every time. And heart disease is reversible and preventable. It shouldn't be shocking to the cardiologist. They should be embracing this, and they should be utilizing it in their practice. And some cardiologists are. And I communicate with lots of cardiologists who are using my books in their practices and report very warm and enthusiastic cases to me and send me positive letters. So, clearly I'm not critical of all doctors here. A lot of doctors want to learn this information. They're just as hungry for the information as you are. They want to learn this, and they want to apply it. The problem is they didn't learn it in medical school, and it's very foreign to them. So anyway, getting back to John's story. Because remember, I'm telling you that after 1 year of seeing Johnny's better, but his blood pressure on no medication is still borderline high. But now, that's 1994. This is 2011, right? This is 17 years later. Now John's 90 years old. I've seen him every single year for the last 17 years after he initially got well. And every year that I've seen him on no medication now, he's been well, but his blood pressure has crept down a little bit each year. Because most people think as they age, the blood pressure gets higher and higher. The opposite is true. When we look at primitive cultures, we find that the most elderly members of their population have the same blood pressure as children. It's not normal for the blood pressure to rise with aging. It's not normal for cholesterol to rise. It's not normal to develop heart disease with aging. It's not normal to gain weight with aging. Those are abnormal. John's just normal now. And like water runs off a waterfall and hits a rock, and after 20,000 years, the rock breaks in two. The rock didn't age. The water hit day after day. And you know what? The point here is, as John's getting older, he's actually caused more reversal of his atherosclerosis. More elasticity and youthfulness have come back to his blood vessels because his blood pressure has gotten better and better. Now he's 90 years old. He hasn't had heart disease for 16 years, but he's climbing on his roof and putting a new roof on and chopping wood in the backyard. He's a physically fit guy in his 90s. And like other people I know, like Jack Tropp, who's deceased, but he died in his 90s, in his late 90s. He had 2 heart attacks before the age of 50, and now he's back to, and he was playing tennis, singles tennis, and I played him tennis against me in his 90s, running around the court like a rabbit, The point is, you can have great health, you can maintain an excellent health and vibrancy, mental function, physical capacity into your later years, like John. Even though he's had an unhealthy life, and even though he had heart disease, now he's 90 with normal blood pressure, no medications. His blood pressure runs about 110 over 75 or 115 over 80. And I'm claiming here that if many people knew about this, like John, who's in his 90s now, we'd have so many more people living to be 95 to 105 years old. We have an unprecedented opportunity here. Nutritional science has advanced to the point we can live longer than ever before. Maybe live longer than any people in human history. Maybe live longer than any people in the whole world if we take advantage of the science and put it into action in our own kitchens. Look what happened to Pam. Pam came to me many years ago, right? She came to me 14 years ago in 1997 with advanced metastatic ovarian cancer, given less than a year to live. She had cancer fluid already filling up her belly and her lungs. She was in very bad shape. Pam, obviously, why I'm bringing her up? Because she's alive today with no cancer. She's vibrant, active, and feeling well, and doesn't have ovarian cancer. Do you think her change in diet had something to do with it? I'll bet it did. It's not that many people survive with ovarian cancer that's advanced 14, 15 years later in great health. I see so many of those people in my practice. So many people that would be no longer alive today. And I get so many letters saying, you saved my life. I would be dead today. So whether you have just a little weight to lose or whether you're just complaining of frequent infections, sinusitis, allergies, maybe headaches, those are all signals something's not right. You don't have to be 100 pounds overweight to want to put your life back into great health. The rewards are too great not to. Look at Lori. Lori had relapsing and remitting multiple sclerosis, MS. Sure, she was overweight, struggling diet her whole life, right? But she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis at age 28. But now she's committed. She's committed to healthy eating. And you know what happened? Since she started this, she no longer has multiple sclerosis. She hasn't had a flare-up. She hasn't had any symptoms at all. And so here's the message from Lori. Let me read you what she said, okay? She said, if I can do it, anyone can. You cannot imagine how much I love the taste of the foods that made me fat. It is astonishing how dramatically our taste in food can change and enable us to truly enjoy eating for health. So that's a good statement of encouragement. She's saying that she enjoyed the way she used to eat, the junk food diet she used to eat, right? But now she's saying she enjoys this way, and she's shocked that she enjoys it so much. And she got her health back in the process. So let's look at Sue next. Sue was significantly overweight, and she weighed 245 pounds. She also lost over 100 pounds. She grew up on fast food, pizza, junk food. I'm sure she loved that stuff. She didn't like fruits and vegetables, right? But she had no energy. She felt fatigued all the time. She tried all those diets. But on every diet books, she lost over 120 pounds. She's energetic. She's no longer pre-diabetic. She feels great. She got the wake-up call. She decided to be in good health. Julia is a very important story because Julia had 3 heart attacks within 1 year's time. Can you imagine having 3 heart attacks in a year? Literally, maximally helped by the medical profession. Everything that could be done could have been done. She still had the heart attack. After a 3rd heart attack, she was literally sent home to die and didn't even have the energy or strength to leave her house, to walk out of her house. Can you imagine how depressed she was? She was giving up on life and had given up on life. But luckily, she found me, came to me as a patient. I saw her in my office, and she dropped 105 pounds that first year. Julia lost the 105 pounds, but her heart disease went away. Maybe not all of it went away because she's got to have some damage to her heart because from all those heart attacks, there's probably some areas of the myocardium that's not going to come back. But she has enough functioning heart tissue left and got enough recovery because there's some areas that are called hibernating myocardium, which means the area is not functioning, but they're not yet dead. And those areas must have come back because her ejection fraction improved. Maybe said some areas weren't total. And with the perfusion of blood from losing all the weight and losing the plaque in her heart, is now oxygenated and full of nutrients, she can now exercise. She can do exercise class, like aerobics class. She shops, she has a whole life. She's well again, and she's in control. And I was lucky enough to be, and it was a lovely thing, I was invited to her son's wedding, and I sat at the table with Julie, and she's up dancing with her son. She probably wouldn't have been around to even see her son get married. And now she's around to have a happy life, to enjoy her grandchildren. And she says, let me read you what she says. She wanted to say that she conquered her food cravings, and even though I said she lost 105 pounds, she's lost more weight since then. She's actually lost over 120 pounds altogether. And now she walks 3 miles every single day. Can you imagine after having 3 heart attacks not being able to walk to the bathroom, now walking 3 miles every day? She said, I enjoy the natural flavor of food, and kale is my favorite vegetable. Can you imagine kale is her favorite vegetable? I love kale too, and my kids eat tons of kale. We take the kale and we lightly steam it, and then we chop it up and make it a cream sauce for it with little cashews. We whip the little cashews with hemp milk, and we mix it together, put little spices in there, and we mix the steamed cashews that when we chop. Sometimes I take the kale out of the steamer, and I put it on a towel, and I suppress the water out. Then I chop it and mix it in with the cream sauce. And you wouldn't believe my kids fight over it. When my son Sean was young, I used to say to him, Sean, get away from that kale. It'll make you too strong, and I can't have you stronger than me because I need that kale for my strength and my work. And he'd go, no, I want the kale, Dad. And then I'd say, you're going to get too strong. He'd come over and give me a shove, and I'd run back, do a backflip over the couch. fall back and say, get that kale away from that kid. He's getting too much strength and too much power. And he'd come up in the morning, wake up and go, where's the broccoli? Where's the kale? I want to eat some more greens, Dad. Okay, let me read you what. So the point I'm making is that in my house, we go to the market to buy kale. We'll buy like 6 heads, everything they have. We'll take the whole shelf and put it into the bar. We'll steam it down, and everybody will be fighting over it. No, you had more than me. Save some for me for lunch tomorrow. I'm going to college. I want to take some with me. They're all fighting who's going who can take more with them. It tastes great. So let me read you what Julia said. Let me read you her quote, okay? Because it's really moving. She said, "I enjoy every day of my life now. I exercise. I garden. I cook. I do everything that I couldn't do for more than 10 years of my life. I look healthy, I feel healthy, and it's good health from within. It's wonderful. I'm having a love affair with a healthy life." Isn't that neat? And then she said, "You have to just do it. Keep your eye on the prize." Jody. Jody's a great story because I treat a lot of people with autoimmune conditions, like rheumatoid arthritis, like lupus. And you know what I see? These people improve dramatically, and many of them get totally better, like Jody, who totally got better from psoriatic arthritis, which is like rheumatoid arthritis mixed with psoriasis. It's really bad. You have the uncomfortable rash, which you can see by the before and after pictures. The rash is gone. And she was on medications for 30 years. She was literally house confined. She couldn't play tennis. She couldn't climb mountains. She couldn't enjoy her life, right? Jody went away with us to our vacation. We have a yearly getaway where hundreds of people come with us to a nice place in the country where we eat healthy, high nutrient food. We have fun activities, lectures. Jody climbed up at the top of the mountain in Utah, put her hands up over her head and said, "Look at me, I'm a medical miracle. I could hardly walk before, now I'm climbing mountains," right? She suffered with skin rashes and joint pains, psoriatic arthritis, for 40 years, right? On steroids and, all those years of medications, prednisone, medications that cause cancer. Now she's drug-free, disease-free. She said she breezed through menopause. She's in her 60s. She's able to enjoy life now and do activities like play tennis and climb mountains that she couldn't do before. She says now she's 60 years young. When she was younger, she was 45 years old. Now she's 60 years young. She's young again, Lori also lost about 100 pounds. But Lori's a good story because she had fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome. Those are very common illnesses. How many people have aches and pains? How many people are sore and have muscle spasms and their body's all inflamed? They're fatigued all the time. But now she's happy. Sure, she looks younger, looks like her grandmother before, right? Her mother, and now she's a happy young woman who lost 100 pounds in 1 year. She's energetic. She exercises now because she feels like exercising. Sure, exercise is good for you and important to your health, but what if you don't feel like it and you can't do it? So all her ailments improve. Insomnia, joint pain went away, no longer fatigue, no longer with fibromyalgia, no longer frequent colds, right? Her skin is glowing, smoother and healthy now, right? She said she's back to the world of living. Let me read you Lori's quote. "I went into this weight loss journey with my number one priority and hope to improve my health." That's what she said, and it worked. I understand what she's saying right now. She's saying that she didn't do it really for weight loss. She did it for improved health. The weight loss is the side effect, is what she's saying. Okay, Marcy. Marcy lost 90 pounds in 10 months. Simple thing. Her headaches went away. A lot of people suffer with headaches. You don't have to. She has more clarity. She has mental clarity. She's not mentally confused anymore, right? She had bouts with depression that she doesn't have anymore. People do not recognize her, right? People think she's a different person, right? Because she's healthy, she feels good, She wasn't that sick. Irene had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and Irene was a patient of mine. Look at her there with her grandchild, enjoying her grandchildren. I was measuring her tumors on her body and watching them shrink in size with this program. She reversed the progression of her stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. The tumors shrunk up. She lost 40 pounds in the first 3 months. Her cholesterol dropped from about 100 points, and the tumors melted away. Now she's more energetic than ever, and she's in her 60s, enjoying her life, enjoying her grandchildren. Where would she be today if she didn't know about this? And Barb. Barb had indigestion, irregular heartbeat all the time, right? And she had allergies and hip, shoulder, back pain, joint pain, bleeding gums, painful periods. A lot of people find their periods go away. And a lot of doctors are now using this program in their infertility practices of women who can't get pregnant. So Barb has restored health. She doesn't have irregular heartbeat. She has increased aerobic capacity, meaning she can go to the gym and she can exercise and feel good about doing it and be able to exercise with comfort. She's pain-free, healthy gums, menopause was a breeze. All these women report they don't have the other problems other people have. And her weight, she dropped to 40 pounds, her blood pressure normalized, her resting pulse went down, her cholesterol dropped, all these things. And let me read you her quote. Because Barb said, at first, Dr. Furman's eating style seemed too extreme for me. However, even with adopting a gradual approach, I noticed many health improvements that encouraged me to keep on going and to learn more. And the change was so remarkable that it encouraged me to keep going, which created an upward spiral of success for me. Pretty good quote, right? She saw the results and they paid off with dramatic benefits. And this is what I see. This is not uncommon, which I see in my practice and with people who never even met me, who've just learned about this information just like you. And they've adopted it into their lives, and it's made a tremendous benefit for them. And I hope, and my hope for you, is that you adopt it into your life, and you see some of these wonderful benefits for you as well. So wishing you great health, wishing you incredible health, and a long, happy, and pleasurable life. Thank you.